It is Saturday morning at 5:26, Record Store Day, a.m., if we didn't know. I'm at 22 Market Records. Am I really the first person? I'm never first anywhere. I don't even know if this knucklehead's car can be parked in the spot that I'm supposed to be parked in. There's no one else to ask. The store opens at 8 a.m. I just assumed there'd be a line of people. I looked around back. A cop just drove by. I'm like, oh boy. Here's this guy standing out in front of a store. Watch, nobody shows up till 8. The place I used to go to, Gromies I've talked about, there were people out there yesterday at 9 p.m. yesterday waiting. People were sleeping overnight. I've been there in that line, but there's no one here. What if they're not at this location?
All right, Record Store Day 2026 for me is in the books, and I know it's getting started for a lot of you. Yes, I ended up being first at this location here in Tiffin, Ohio, 22 Market Records. Did I get everything that I wanted on my wish list? Yes, for the most part. My second tier is where I had to kind of make some choices of, I was already kind of at my spending threshold of what I was, wanting to spend. And some things were cheaper than I, kind of expected them to be. I wanted to come prepared. What a great time being able to hang out with people here from the lovely city of Tiffin, just kind of talking records and music and what our hopes and dreams of Record Store Day were for the 3.5 some odd hours that we were all sitting out here. Great shop. If you're in the Ohio area, 22 Market, it's time to go home and do a haul video.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rogue Record Music. This is episode 19, I think. I've gotten these last few episodes out of sequence. I've already filmed episode 18 with Brant. That is done and ready to go, but this episode is going to come out first, so just follow along. If you looked at the title of this episode, this is for Record Store Day, which was yesterday, April 18th. And make sure to look at the calendar, right? My days are all confused. Yes, April 18th, 2026. So the last video that I put out was for my wish list. And if you have been following our social medias, have done a good job lately putting those down here. They're in the description of the video, but I'm going to try to put them here across the screen. So Rob, remember as you're looking at the screen to do that. But for all the social medias, for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I haven't been as active on Twitter. I need to do that, but that'll be scrolling here as well. But I did more of a live update feel on the 18th yesterday as I was getting ready for Record Store Day, as my mind's all a jumble today being Sunday. So if you follow that, you kind of saw some of the stuff, and you may have even kind of known what my pickups were. But the previous video, I talked about my hopes and my wishes for this year's Record Store Day. And since I have been doing Record Store Day, I had been going to a shop down in Lima, Ohio, which I'm based in Ohio, in case you didn't know, but a shop called Gromies. And I have done one at Finders up in Bowling Green, and on a trip that my wife and I had took, I was actually in Indianapolis for one a few years back. But Gromies has been the place that I have typically gone to do Record Store Day. This year was the first time that I decided I think I'm going to do something else, a shop that I had recently discovered in the last 2 years was 22 Market in Tiffin, Ohio, which both stores are just about a half hour and change, give or take, 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the direction I'm going. I don't have a record store in my city anymore. We had a flood back in 2012, I think, and that record store, Finders, there were 2 locations, one in Findlay, one in Bowling Green. That sustained a lot of water damage because of the flood. And so they closed that shop up, and then it was the Bowling Green shop. And then that recently, I shouldn't say recently, it's probably been close to, is it technically been almost 5 years now? Wow, that's wild. But I was at the Bowling Green Finders for its last Record Store Day, and I forget what year that was. Rob will try to remember to put on the screen here. But Gromies is where I typically gone, and going to 22 Market, I like that store. I like the location, and the little intro video that you saw there, I was the first one there. I have never been first to any record store day, like on a good day. And the Bowling Green one that I was at a few years back, I think I was sixth or maybe seventh in line. I thought that was really good. It was a very, very cold day, so I think that helped in my numbers. But normally I'm like 30th in line, or, when I went to Indianapolis, there was probably 30 to 40, maybe even 50 people ahead of me. So thinking, oh my gosh, it was a store I wasn't familiar with at all. I was lucky to get the couple things that I wanted there. So only have going off of Gromies that I've done more. I thought, well, this year I'm going to get up earlier than I normally do. Gromies opens at 10. So I would try and get there around 5 or so. This year, people were staying or camping out overnight the previous night on the 17th. And some people were there as late as 9 p.m. Friday night going into Saturday. And I thought, you know what? I like 22 Market. I'm going to go there. Nothing against Gromy if you're familiar with him, but he is he's cash only. So read between the lines of why he doesn't want to have credit cards and all this other stuff. But it makes it hard going. I have to take cash to go. I don't know. Sometimes we don't know how much these records are going to be. To know, like, am I going to have to bring $200 in cash, and he will, cut you a little deal for like change. So it's not like, I'm looking at a record, it's $24.99. He may just say, we'll call it 23, or, we'll round it up and we'll make it 25 or something like that. I wanted to be able to have the option to take some cash that I had been putting back for it and then go, well, if I want these couple other things, I want to be able to put down a credit card and pay for it if I didn't want to use cash. So that was the big pull for me to go. And plus it was someplace new to go, and I liked this shop. So I get up at 4:00 in the morning. The alarm goes off, which is the earliest I had ever woken up for record store day. I work a job that I have to get up at 5:00. So I thought, well, setting the alarm for an hour early won't be that big of a deal. Went ahead and did it. Drove to downtown Tiffin, and as you saw in the video, I'm the only one there. Any record store day that I've ever gone to, there has always been some type of a line, whether it's wrapping around the block or whether it's wrapping around the building, or whether there's like, oh, there's already been 10 or 15 people here and I'm the 18th person in line, or I'm the 30th person in line. For a brief moment, you saw in the video, I'm turning around going, am I at the right location? Like, it's a smaller record store. So were they like, well, for record store day, we actually rented a hall somewhere, or we're in a different building. I thought, oh, the line maybe is in the back of the building. I went to the back of the building. So for almost an hour, technically it was 52 minutes, really close to an hour, I was the only one there. A cop had drove by at one point, rolled down his window. I said, I'm just here for record store day. Shop opens at 8. And he's kind of giving me the thumbs up, like, oh, okay. Like, he's aware of what's going on, and would make passes every now and then. So like essentially an hour later, the second person showed up, and it was an additional half hour, maybe another 40 minutes before, 2 other girls showed up. So then there's 4 of us. So as it gets closer to the 8:00 open time, which that was the other thing, having to wait till 10:00 and have to get in line at 4 or 5:00, that makes it a 5-hour wait. This was a little bit shorter at about a 3 to close to 4-hour wait, but knowing the shop's going to open at 8:00, we could be in and out, and I could be back on the road before Gromies even thinks about opening. And I half joked with, well, I wonder if I just go from Tiffin to go, double the mileage back to just go to Lima. So I was toying with what I wanted to do, and I thought, well, let's just try Tiffin. So that was the decision I made. I get there, like I said, I'm the only one there, and it was so again, not being first in these type of places, I was just like, this is weird. Like, I'm at the front door, the owner's coming in and out, talking to us every now and then. And he's like, all right, you're gonna set the pace. You're the first one through the door. And like everyone, like if you've ever been in line somewhere, you seeing that first person go through a line somewhere, you're like, oh, I bet he's gonna get all the stuff that I was looking for. If there's only one or two, I remember having those conversations with other people, like, oh, those people in the front don't take what I want, or whatever the case is, and all of a sudden I'm that guy. So that was kind of funny and kind of cool that I'm like, and it's not even the city that I live in. So some people were joking with me in line, like, oh, we have somebody from out of town that's first, So it made the whole experience really kind of cool, just being able to talk to people in line, which, some people were like, I've never paid, I've never stood in line for any records, blah, blah, blah. And what your opinions are of Record Store Day, this, that, or the other, it's to help the shops. So I know there could be some stuff behind the scenes that people don't like and this, that, or the other. But I heard somebody say this is like 2 Black Fridays for record stores. Now that they added a second, the Black Friday Record Store Day, that, not only are you going in and buying the Record Store Day exclusive stuff, you're more apt to, well, while I'm here at the record store, I'm going to buy other stuff. Now, it was a little tighter space in there, so I didn't really feel like I had the time to kind of peruse through stuff, which I'm going to make a return trip here very soon. I'll get to that at the end of this video. But I just kind of wanted to lay down the groundwork there. I just realized I'm kind of just a little over the 10-minute mark, and we're like, Rob, let's see what you got. So I just kind of wanted to set that up at just a really good place. If you're in Ohio and you have a chance to go to 22 Market, I highly recommend it. Great shop, great owner, and just staff was wonderful, and just really well organized. And I had told the owner, I said, this is going to be my preferred shop. As long as you're able to continue to do Record Store Day, I'm going to be here every year moving forward. I had such a good time. So I put these in the order of my importance, of the ones that I was looking for the least to the most. So kind of like the best for last. And if you watched the last video, I kind of talked about some of that as well. And if you've kind of watched social media, you might already know what some of these are that I picked up, and we'll go through them. So being a big, huge, Kiss fan or whatever, this one was kind of the lowest on my pickup list with the funds that I had available that I was wanting to do, just because I thought, well, I don't know how much it's going to be. I didn't think it was going to be over $20, knowing that it's only 4 songs. Kiss's first opportunity to Record Store Day here, and it's a special Kiss album for their summer tour featuring cuts for all formats from Casablanca. So this was originally put out in 1976. When Destroyer came out, it's cut at 45 RPM, which is really kind of cool. And it comes on this nice splatter, which I'll kind of pull out here. My splatter is really kind of cool and very minimal, which some people may go, oh, you kind of got gypped on the splatter. I really kind of like it. If it kind of shows up there. So it's only 4 tracks. And here's the other side. This side has a little bit more of the splatter. So I've seen some that have a really good splattering effect on it, that it's more splatter than black vinyl. I kind of like that the white splatter is very minimal on this. I get more of a standard black vinyl than I do the splatter version. But the 4 songs, and this is one of the first times that I kept the price. There we go. Price. We're over backwards. The price on the sticker of it, $25.98. So it wasn't too bad. I was thinking it was going to be around $22, but still, we got Beth, Do You Love Me, Flaming Youth, Detroit Rock City. So this was, as we were standing in line trying to, again, figure out how much this stuff was going to be going, the way the record shop had set it up this time, they had bins in various locations. So that was the one drawback for me. That was the biggest drawback for me from most shops that I've been through. They usually, most shops, I haven't been to all, obviously, but they've got them in a row. So you normally alphabetically that you could go through. Being the first person through the door, would have the opportunity to look through A to Z, whatever it is, and I would get to the end, have my stack, could go to the counter and pay for it. So if there happened to be only one of something, I would be that one. If I decided if there was only one of those, I would be the first one through the door. I was the one that was there the longest, or whatever that might be, to have the benefit of looking through everything before somebody else. So this shop, he said he's going to kind of change it for next year. This is only his third year doing it, but there was had 4 record bins, very similar to this. So they were in a couple different spots. So I had to be strategic in going, well, I know I want these 3 things off the top, and alphabetically, they're all going to be within bin 1, bin 2, and bin 1 and 2 were close to one another. Bins 3 and 4 were farther away. So as people started coming in, if you were looking for Van Halen, they weren't going to the A bin where I was. If I was looking for Black Sabbath, they were going over to V for Van Halen or whatever, or Judas Priest bin or whatever, alphabetically. So again, the copies were minimum. So the 4 of us that were in line had been there the longest. We kind of had shorthand with one another. Like, okay, I'm looking for this. I know I'm going to go to this A through H bin. I'll look through knowing what you want. I'll pull those for you. If you go over to this side to pick up your latter part of the alphabet, knowing, well, hey, I want Van Halen. If there's still one over there, could you grab that? So we kind of had that shorthand, which really helped, which brings us to Van Halen being now. These next few were all in very high priority, but the ones that I saw, that the last ones I'm going to show you, were ones that I went, if I can only get 2, these are the 2 that I want. Van Halen was right up there. I had said previously, I've had all of the record store releases with the exception of the Balance one that came out last year. I got the regular release, but nonetheless, live in New Haven, I have this VHS tape. It is somewhere behind me. I will try and put a picture of it up here. I should have had it here. Go on. So let's take a look. This thing is great. I wish the one for Balance from last year was done like this. Essentially, the whole entire concert. My preferred version of Van Halen. This is really when I came into it. Yes, I was familiar with Van Halen from 1984, being, an MTV kid. But it was really Sammy Hagar coming into the band. This one came in at $34.98, at least for me. It's on clear vinyl. And we'll just do one of them because both of them are the same here. But the Live Without a Net concert, to be able to have it on vinyl, it's now available on CD through the box set for $51.50. But so cool that this came out. This was another one of the big ones for me where I was like, oh, I have to be able to pick this up from Record Store Day, knowing that it's probably just like with the other ones that had come out previously for Van Halen. And you can kind of see the hype sticker. I normally peel the hype stickers off and then stick them to the bag. This one did not want to come off very well. So I ended up just cutting around the shrink and putting it in here. So Van Halen live in New Haven, 1986, was a big deal. Just being a new Van Halen fan in 1885 and getting a hold of this VHS tape, and then to finally, 40 some odd years later, to finally be able to have this on vinyl or even on CD. I remember transferring the VHS to cassette tape just so I could have it on my paper route. So this is a big, big memory for me for Van Halen, and why I'm a Van Halen fan was because of that video, the 5150 album, and then now to be able to kind of have this is really, really cool. Another big one for me that's really kind of a toss-up between this one and the next one of a big poll to why I won it, why I was really excited for Record Store Day this year. But that would be Bruce Kulick's Transformer. This was a fun time. This album originally came out in 2002, 2004, I believe. 2003. Sorry, I got my math wrong. Because I do have the original cassette tape, original CD. Got it signed by Bruce at the release party at the Kiss Indiana Kiss Expo for this album, which I'll show you the back of the CD or the back of the vinyl here in just a second. Very similar, updated the photo, which you could kind of tell right here. And I believe he said this is a promotional photo that he had taken when he was a member of Grand Funk, that he kind of liked this shot a little bit better than this one. I think actually this was the Grand Funk photo, and this would have been more of a modern, updated photo. But still, nonetheless. And this is done by Culture, was it Culture Records? Culture, I want to say Culture Clash. I think that's wrong. But Bruce Kulick, former member of Kiss, Transformer, first time ever released on vinyl, first time remastered with new art, 12-inch side, 12-inch LP, side A purple, side B is orange. So initially when I saw this, as we were seeing it on Record Store Day proper website and when other publications had it, I thought it was a 2 LP, that one was purple and one was orange. The fact that you get a flip side of one being one color, one being the other, that process sounds really interesting. They're really kind of trying something different, as much as we have always different liquid filled, LPs and, Alice in Chains had, flies inside of their Jar of Flies album and different splatter effects, but to get one side and one other, that sounds like that's kind of like a newer type of a process that they did. The same company that produced this did Eric Carr's releases over the last few Record Store Days, so they kind of kept it in that theme. It's got a nice Obi strip here. This one was $29.98 there. Let's go ahead and pull this guy out. So it's got a cool Obi strip on it. And the back photos, they are different. First time I had them side by side. Some different shots around the same era. And like I said, the other side of the Obi strip there. New photo art for Bruce, and then liner notes, who's on it, and then more of a track by track. So Bruce goes track by track for the writing credits, not the writing credits, but what was going on as he was writing this, kind of going back to 2003, and probably even 2002 as he was writing this, and kind of giving an update of what these song creations were. So this was a big one. Huge Kiss fan, obviously, coming from my previous podcast. It was all about Kiss, and there's plenty of Kiss stuff around here. Brant and I's video you're going to get ready to see coming up next is all about Kiss, and there's going to be plenty of Kiss content here. So this is a big one, and the next record feature folds its way into that as well. So this was a big one. I really wanted to be able to get the CD, but the location I was at did not have it. So one other place says that they might be able to get it. So we'll see. I'd hate to have to resort to Evil Bay, but I'd like to have the CD version of this as a remaster. I've got this original on CD, but it'd be cool to have this as well. Just what a fun album. This would be a fun one to review sometime as well. So Bruce Kulick, Bruce Kulick Transformer. And you would have thought I would have remembered to pull out the vinyl. I was so worried about getting the sleeve back in that I forgot to show the vinyl. So it looks more blue here. It is definitely purple. Depending on the light there, you can kind of see it's purple there. And you can see some of the orange kind of bleed through, and you can see some of the, maybe that's just some of the paper dust, which I've got to get this cleaned yet. So you can kind of see that the orange kind of bleeds through and kind of creates a little bit of an orange swirl, but flipping it over, there you go. And vice versa. You can see there's a really good shot of the orange there, but you can see some of the purple bleeding through. There we go. Some of the purple bleeding through. So this was really cool way they did it. You can kind of see, if we can look at it just right, you can see the two halves right there, half being purple, half being orange. Just a really, really beautiful release. So Bruce should be very happy. And listening to the record spinner, Bruce or Dylan had Bruce on his podcast, and it sounds like that they were like, hey, if this goes really well, and it sounds like they had a really good turnout for Record Store Day with Bruce's album, that maybe they'll go back and they'll do Audio Dog and BK3 for Record Store Day and give them this kind of treatment as well. So maybe there'll be more Bruce Kulick coming down the line. So Bruce Kulick Transformer. All right, the second, my second pick for this one and the next one are really kind of tied, if I'm being honest. Seeing these two on the list, I was like, I have to. If I can only walk out with two albums, as much as I love that Bruce Kulick album, I thought, for whatever reason, if money was tight and I can only get two, it's this one. You can see him back here on Issues of Modern Drummer. I've got signed drum pieces up here. His doll action figure is right there. It's also up here. One of my favorite drummers of all time, Eric Singer, which, aside from Ace Frehley, because Ace has had probably the most Record Store Day releases of any Kiss member, Eric Carr might be next with his Rockology album and the various formats that it's been out on, and then Unfinished Business. So I think technically Eric has had 4 releases between the April Record Store Day and then the Black Friday Day. But Eric Singer really comes in next as the Kiss member to have the most releases. Now, they haven't released Eric with any official Kiss product because Kiss just put out their first one. But what I mean is Eric has been on an Alice Cooper release and has been on a Black Sabbath release just last year with Eternal Idol. And finally, another Black Sabbath album, Seventh Star, which this marks Eric Singer's first appearance on vinyl in 1986, recording with Tony Iommi and Black Sabbath. Originally kind of thought of as a Tony Iommi solo album. The record label was like, it'll sell better, we can promote it better if we put the Black Sabbath moniker on top of it and make it a Black Sabbath album. That's why it says featuring Tony Iommi. The offshoot of this would be with Glenn Hughes being on lead vocals, but like I said previously in the last video, Glenn only did like 6 or 7 shows before alcohol and drug use got the better of him. They bring in Ray Gillen. They would eventually go in and start recording the Eternal Idol album when Ray and Eric would leave to go form Badlands. But that's neither here nor there. Black Sabbath. Now, this is my 3rd copy of this album, technically 4 if you count the CD I have back there as well. So I have an original pressing from 86, and I have a Russian pressing from 2016. And knowing that this was getting an official release from Black Sabbath, and it's going to be a Record Store Day that really ties in to last year being a solid red album. This one is a red and black splatter. But this comes with a bonus track of No Stranger to Love, which is a remix, which is essentially the radio remix of it. Let's kind of pull this out here. And you can see Eric Singer on drums right there. So being a Kiss fan, this was one I was always kind of hoping that as other Kiss vinyl collectors are out there would also be picking this up as well, because this is another Kiss member being on here. And the fact that it's Eric Singer's first album, I think is really cool. And a nice printed inner sleeve, which is just like the original from back in the day. And this was $24.98. You kind of see the splatter there. So that is pretty sharp. So there's side 2, side 1, and getting it in the light a little bit, you can kind of see it's almost like a fiery orange, but it is definitely red, depending on how you look at it. Another beautiful release. The Eternal Idol, which would have been Eric's second album he recorded on, being with Black Sabbath. It is this red, but it is a solid red. So that's kind of cool that they kind of paired the two together, but making this one a splatter, which I think is really, really cool. So being a huge Eric Singer fan, I've said before on the Right Between the Eyes podcast that I was on, and even doing a Kiss Army Things podcast with Xander. Every May we celebrate Eric Singer's birthday. And I've said before, if I was ever going to cut my collecting down, the one single Kiss member that I will always buy things for is Eric Singer. Just a big influence on my drumming. So to me, this was a no-brainer. I had to have it. Collect everything Eric Singer that I can get my hands on, along with a few other of my favorite drummers. But this was one I was like, again, if I could only get one album, it was going to be really hard. But this and the next one were my two like must-haves. Being a vinyl collector, and especially being a Kiss fan, to me, this over Bruce and this over the first Kiss Record Store Day album, to me, this was a no-brainer. All right, the last album, and the one where I was like, I have to have this. This was the thing, along with the Black Sabbath album and Bruce Kulick and all the other ones, of course. But this was the one that I was like, I have to have this album. If it really came down to money and I couldn't get the Black Sabbath album, knowing I already have two other versions of it, I was like, I'll be okay. But this one I have to have. The first time I saw the band was on this tour. While they are not my favorite band, they are in my top 5 all day long. But I love this album right at the height of grunge. This is one of those bands like the Kiss, like the Aerosmith, like, the AC/DCs, those bands that could kind of plow through the grunge scene, even if they took a little bit of a grunge turn. They never had a moment where they stopped and had to reconvene and get back together and do all that type of stuff. They were continuing to put out content. It was Def Leppard. The Slang album is easily in my top 3. Adrenalize is number 1. As this is probably 2. This is honestly really probably 2. Adrenalize is a soundtrack for my high school years, or actually my senior year of high school, rather. This would be the album that follows it, would be the first time that I saw the band live. And then probably the X album is right up there. I love Hysteria and Pyromania, but I think it's due to where you are in your maturity growing up. And I played Hysteria so many times. I know that like the back of my hand, and I love Hysteria. But some of those albums I just mentioned, even Euphoria is, really high up there for me. But this was a big one. Being out of high school, when I saw this, my girlfriend at the time was still, actually, no, she was graduated high school. And the sad part is we actually broke up shortly after seeing this show. So it's kind of one of those, it's in some ways kind of tethered to her in some aspect of, the songs on here. It's kind of Def Leppard. It's still their sound, but they're dipping that toe into that grunge-ish 90s sound a little bit, taking a little bit more experimental before they would pull themselves back with, Euphoria, making a more return to form. But this is a big deal. This is my second favorite Def Leppard album. And the fact that it is, 40 years, the 40th anniversary of this album, I can't even wrap my head around it. I love all the songs off this album. If it wasn't because of being in high school when Adrenalize came out, all the high school dances and Have You Ever Loved Someone So Bad, Kick Love into Motion, and Let's Get Rocked, this might be actually my favorite Def Leppard album. But, music has that wonderful thing of time traveling, and I'm kind of doing a review rather than showing you the album here. But this is cool that this is getting, they got a Record Store Day release, and I believe it's going to get a proper, probably black vinyl release, but just what a fantastic release. So I don't believe this has all of the songs that, and maybe it does. I would have to look between like the Spotify and the CD version or the Apple Music as I have, that the deluxe version, I think online and the CD might have more tracks, or this might have been a 3 LP version. So I think they kind of cut some of the songs down, but are the tracks available. But just to me, this is a fantastic album. I can't say enough good things about this album. Maybe it's not your cup of tea for Def Leppard and you wish they were still doing Pyromania or High and Dry in their sound. Comes with really 2 good inner sleeves. This is newly done for this release. This side is basically just like the CD, just as this side was. And then this is a new design for the vinyl release. Like I said, this is a 2 LP version. I'll just pull out one here. But this comes on I think I said pink before, but I believe it's more magenta, purple, clear. See some paper I've got to clean off of this, but so that's side 2 there. That's side 1. Just a fantastic album. That's all the 2 there, but I see 1 and 2 listed both here. It's just giving you the track listing for 1 and 2. So the 1 being down at the bottom is letting you know this is side 1. So Slang, my final purchase, well, it was actually technically the first one. I saw the Black Sabbath one, and then it was right in the same bin. So I went to D2. Actually, really, it was Bruce Kulick was next. Everything was alphabetical as far as they went from first name. But a Black Sabbath, Bruce Kulick, and Def Leppard were right there. But I think I actually flipped through Def Leppard and pulled that out and then went that way. And this one, I didn't put the price up there. At least for me, $37.98. So I was thinking this was going to be right around $40, and I wasn't that far off. So I did plan very well accordingly. And then I drove home. I was first in line. Like I said, at 8 o'clock in the morning, doors open. I went in. I had picked my albums. It was up at the counter. I was back in my car by 8:15. So I spent 15 minutes in the actual shop, and it was really kind of compacted in there as people were starting to pour in. So I really couldn't kind of look through, and I thought I'll go back in a couple days and see if there's any leftovers or if there's other stuff I wanted to look through. And I headed home, and that was the end of my record store day.
So it is 4:43 on Saturday, and I'm driving, which don't drive and be on your phone, so I'm not going to look at you. I'm going to do it here real quick. There you go. I've already done record store day at 4 a.m. today, but it's 4:43, and I'm back in the car, headed to another shop. FOMO has gotten me. This was the store I didn't go to that I had gone. Typically, I'd gone to Gromy's.
in Lima. It's a good shop. This is his, maybe second year in his new location. I lost his store to a fire. Sad. But he's kind of cash only. And, you know, we're living in a digital age. So I decided to go to 22 Market. But as I started looking through the list and other things, I'm like, I kind of have a little FOMO. Like, I want to go back out and check. So rather driving to Tiffin again and seeing what's left, because I know the Megadeth album is gone from Tiffin. Sad part is with Gromy, he either doesn't have his new phone set up because the old phone number is not working, or the phone number was disconnected. I know it kind of sounds like a shady shop, but us vinyl collectors, we're gonna kind of do what we do. So I'm driving almost the same distance. I'm kind of right in the middle of the two, but I can't get anybody to answer. I messaged them on Facebook, so I'm gonna kind of just go down to see. I haven't been in the new store yet, so maybe I won't find any record store day stuff that I missed. Like Collective Soul might be pretty good. It'd be good to get Megadeth. I totally forgot about Bruce Kulick's CD for Transformer. I meant to pick that up today, and it was kind of chaotic a little bit. 22 Market. I love that. I think they could have done the flow of us getting albums a little bit better, because we were all kind of bouncing around between 3 and 4 crates. Love it. We'll go back next year, but that kind of threw me off, especially when there were other things that weren't vinyl that were available that I just forgot because the layout wasn't great. I don't know what Gromy's is going to be like, but we'll see. So it's raining in Northwest Ohio, and here we go.
So, like you saw there, I had gone home, I'd taken a nap, so I was up early, and I started seeing stuff online. And initially, I was like, oh my gosh, Mr. Big had an album out. I realized for Hey Man, that was done over in the UK, which I was really disappointed to know that the UK was getting stuff. We weren't, so I'm hoping that that'll get a vinyl release here in the US properly. So I was trying to call, other shops and stuff. They're like, no, we don't have it. And I thought, well, I wonder if Gromy has the Bruce Kulick CD. So I decided, well, I'll go there. He didn't, but I did pick up 2 more things that were on my second tier. So the first one, I wanted to pick this up at 22 Market, and again, by the way the bins were set up, I don't think it was, I'm using air quotes here, so be kind, 22 Market. I don't think it was fair enough for all of us that waited in line that you could have gone through all of them. So if I was person 1, I should have been able to go through all the bins and pick out whatever I wanted. Then person 2, that's why we're getting there early, yada, yada, yada. But because the bins were sporadic around, I didn't ever get to the last 2 bins because, like I said, a new acquaintance of mine that I met in line had grabbed the Van Halen album, which was in the last bin, and I didn't mention these other 2 bands at the time, not knowing how much all this stuff was going to be and how much money I actually had to be able to spend. I wish kind of Record Store Day would put prices up, like this is the price point. So like give or take for the shop, we know, okay, this is what it's going to be. So you could kind of come prepared for that. I wanted to get the Megadeth album at 22 Market. I missed my opportunity. They only had 2 copies of it. So I went down to Gromy's. He had still 4 copies at 5 o'clock when I got into the shop. So you can see $29.99 here, which I think Gromy's was a little bit higher on the average for what I paid for albums. I don't think this was that much. I think it would have been more in line Yeah. The Black Sabbath, it was $24, so I think this probably would have been 24. So this really kind of cemented to myself, had I not wanted the hidden treasures, all of the rarities and soundtracks, and this has two bonus tracks that were Japanese only at the time, as this was originally a CD release. So as you could tell, I still have it sealed. I haven't got it out of the shrink. This is what I got late. Like I said, about 5 o'clock. By the time I got home, I was ready to be done for the day. I had sat in the morning and unopened everything and sleeved all that stuff up. So I'm actually going to open it up here and we'll take a look at the inside together. Like I said, I normally peel the stickers off. So I don't know if I'll do that on camera. I don't have the sleeves offhand. But if I start pulling, let's just see if I can't even pull this off. So I try to keep the sticker from looking all like I'm having a hard time getting it off. And I find it's better to start pulling at the sticker. You can kind of see where I've already started making some blemishes in the hype sticker right there. I feel it comes off better when the record is out of the shrink. The plastic's more pliable and it wants to pull away from the sticker. Normally I don't keep this part of it, but for some reason I thought, well, I will. Maybe later in life I'll go, oh, I remember back in 2026 I paid blah, blah, blah for. So we'll do some cuts here and we'll get this out of this shrink prison, which is coming out really quick. So maybe I'll leave this in. I know some people would stop about here and leave it in this. I like to get a proper sleeve on it, because this shrink can deteriorate over time. I'm just going to take scissors and cut through the back of the shrink to get it off easier. My trick, now that I'm out of the shrink, I got it a little bit more pliable. And the stickers tend to come off easier. And if it looks like it's starting to tear, I usually just stop and kind of reapply it, because I like to put the hype sticker on its new bag. I think because I'm trying to do this on camera, I'm getting a little nervous with it. It is actually coming off. This is also the thing right at the very end, not tearing this last little. Got it. Stick it to the desk real quick. I'm going to re-sleeve this really quick in its new sleeve. Don't put it on upside down. Flatten it back out. Boom. And then I won't do it for this one. I'll try to take this one off. And if this one rips or whatever, I don't really care. I'll put it on the back here somewhere else. So now that I've killed some time here where people are like, I don't really care what you're doing, Rob. I just want to see this. Then there's a fast forward button for a reason. So I don't remember if I've seen. So this does come in with a, oh, there's an insert. I thought there was. Yeah, I believe this is the original cover for the CD, Hidden Treasures. Then all the track listings, and I believe who plays on what. So I know the band members have changed. I have to look. Rob doesn't have his glasses on. I don't believe it's got the band members listed here. But it does come in a polyline sleeve, and I will, which is really nice that it does have polyline sleeve. That's cool. I knew this was purple, but I didn't realize it was translucent. That is sharp. All right, Megadeth Hidden Treasures. Picked this up at Gromy's after the fact. Record Store Day was winding down, so after I'd taken a nap, I got this and the next one. So I believe I would have to go back to look at that video, but I know I talked about them. And there wasn't much out at the time about this release to really know what it was. I initially thought, with the title being Touch and Go, I thought, oh, it's a greatest hits for this band, and not realizing it is a new studio album. And rather than put it out on streaming and doing the normal route, pre-order the album on their website, and then you can do the album or some are doing cassettes now, you get to do a CD. They did this as an exclusive for Record Store Day on a special color with a poster. And then eventually in the summertime, they will release it as a full album on, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, blah, 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 all that stuff, and do a physical copy. So I think this was really cool that they said, hey, if you are really a fan of the band and you want to hear the new album before anybody else, that you can't stream it. It's only able to be heard as a vinyl, kind of going back to old school of, committing, like, I'm going to listen to this album. I can't listen to it in the car. Collective Soul, Touch and Go. So you paid $24.99 for this one. And again, I think this one probably would have been $24 at 22 Market. So I wish I was paying better attention there, because I might have been able to do all my shopping at one place. But they went with a kind of a new wave sound from what I'm hearing and understanding. I haven't been able to find a preview for any of the songs yet. Maybe I haven't looked well enough, but I went through the band's website, and there's no playable tracks from this. So I think they're really keeping it. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to rip the audio from vinyl and upload it, whatever, but I think it's going to be really cool that I'm going to experience this album by listening to it only on vinyl. So I think that's really cool. So let's get this open. I won't go through the whole sticker. Like I see, we've got 3 stickers here that I'm going to eventually try and peel off and put back on some semblance. So here we go, out of the shrink. There's the track listing. And I believe these are all original. I've kind of seen an image of the poster, and I think I can show it on here. It does have a girl on it. I don't believe it's anything too revealing. So let's go with the printed inner sleeve. Just wanted to see here if it lists all the band members. I was looking for writing credits. Yep, Ed Roland. So these are all original. I thought that they were. Oh, that's cool. Not translucent. Really fits with the theme. So they were trying something a little different on this album. Some people said their last few releases were a little samey, as it were. I've been a big Collective Soul fan ever since their first release, and I've bought most of their albums. I think some of it were just I didn't, for whatever reason, not because I didn't like the band. A band that I'm playing in, we're doing one of their songs, Heavy. So very cool. And let me get this in its new sleeve. So let me, I think the poster is PG-13 enough that I can show the poster. So there we go. That's cool that it comes with a poster. And I like, as I'm kind of re-sleeving everything here, I always put the printed inner sleeve in here. And usually the inner sleeve has really nothing to do with the back, or it's just different art. But the fact that it's almost the same as the back, I don't really have to pull the inner sleeve out to read anything. The other side is just a band photo, unless I want to look at the band. But I've got all the back of the information that I would possibly want after pulling the album out. So I think that was kind of a cool design, that the inner sleeve is essentially the back of the album, because that's where all the track listings are, obviously. And there we go. My final purchase, Collective Soul, their new album, exclusive for Record Store Day. So if you didn't get this, you're, at least for right now, you're not going to find it online, at least till summertime, and won't be able to pick up a CD or a standard vinyl until, like I said, summer. So this is the only way to hear this new album until it gets leaked online somehow. We know it probably will. So there we go. So that officially does it. This was the biggest purchase that I made through Record Store Day, normally like the most I had bought and previously would be 3 to 4, maybe 5 one year somewhere, only 3 or 4 because like the Eric Carr box set was kind of pushing $60 and Van Halen's Right Here, Right Now was a quadruple, album set. So, but to pick up 7 albums from 2 different shops was fun to kind of just spend the day. Took a little nap in the middle, but to be able to drive to 2 different shops and have kind of 2 different experiences, and one kind of underlined why I went to shop 1 and why I don't know how much I'll go back to shop 2. Shop 2 was kind of a hassle. They actually moved locations due to a fire a few years ago. So I thought new shop, it won't be as cramped and crowded. And it just felt like they just threw all their crap from that was potentially in that fire. All the same junk that they had everywhere it made it hard to wander and sift through. And I felt like I was walking through this maze to where I didn't even want to sift through anything else. I just went to where the new records were, kind of tried to make one loop, and the aisles were so short and narrow. I was just like, 22 Market has got my business to where I want to buy vinyl. So I hope you found a really good shop and support those good shops, and maybe the shops that sometimes aren't as fun to go to. Maybe they'll start asking questions why, and you could say, hey, because of this place and this place. So that is my haul for 2026 Record Store Day. There will be probably a 2026 Record Store Day Black Friday edition, but this year I was saving up for it, knowing that I wanted to try and have at least 100 plus, kind of getting maybe around the $200 range, so I could freely buy the stuff that I want. And it worked out, rather than going, oh crap, Record Store Days, tomorrow, and I've only got $40. What am I going to do? So I really tried to plan ahead this year, and I was able to make smart purchases and was really wanting to support the local record stores. And that's what this is all about. Yes, there's maybe some other politics going in, but getting us to go to the record stores of this hobby that we all love, I think this is a win-win for everyone. So what did you get at Record Store Day? Put it down here in the comments, and let's start a discussion and come back to Rogue Record Music, and we'll keep the discussion and keep the albums spinning and rotating, and we'll have a conversation while it's going on. Until the next episode, we'll see you. Take care. Bye. So I wasn't originally planning on saying this, but I kind of alluded to it. We had gone to church this morning, and as I was waiting to leave, my wife was finishing talking up to a couple people at church. My phone rang. It was about, close to 1 o'clock, because we were just kind of killing time. And I thought, oh, who's calling me right now? I mean, it was well after church service. And I looked down and see like, oh, it's from Tiffin, Ohio. That's odd. I really don't know anybody in Tiffin other than one of my wife's coworkers. And it dawned on me like, oh, Tiffin, I wonder if that's the record store. And it dawned on me as we were sitting outside for about 3 hours and change or so. With about an hour to go, the store owner had come open up a shop to get things ready, and he came back outside and had slips of paper and said, hey, this is for the couple drawings that we have. And he said, since all of you have been, waiting outside, you're each going to get one of these. And I think, and as people were coming in after he had passed all those out, anybody that knew had come they would hand them one. So we each got 2, which we thought was pretty cool. Kind of like, hey, you guys were the diehards that came out. So I filled out my slip. Again, I'm one of those that's, I'm not the first anywhere. And as many contests and things that, I enter, I don't typically win those. So when I saw the phone call, I was like, well, it says Tiffin, Ohio, but in, this day and age, like spammers and scammers will, spoof phone numbers, and then you realize it's somebody trying to sell you something or, try and get your money. So I was a little trepidatious. And again, I was still, just kind of meandering through the church, and I almost thought, I'm not going to get on the phone in case somebody comes up and wants to talk to me. So I kind of excused myself, and instantly it's the owner of the store. I recognized his voice, and he said, hey, I've been meaning to call you. So we went through and we're doing pulling names for the raffle, and I didn't get a chance to do it yesterday, so I'm going through calling people today. And he says, congratulations, you won the Tool box set. And I had to ask him again. I was like, what? He goes, for the contest. I said, yeah, I remember you having a contest, but I had kind of put it out of my mind. And for a brief moment, to be perfectly honest, I'm still not entirely sure what I won. I was actually Googling it, because I was even going back through the Instagram page, and if I can find an image of it, but I don't think that they even posted it on their Instagram feed. If they had, shame on me, I must have missed it. And I know that they had stuff, behind the counter and like, hey, you could win this, but with, we're all in that mindset of like, okay, let's get to the bins, let's get records. And, I'm looking to get my stuff. I kind of had like checked that out of my mind. So obviously I don't have it here right now. This is Sunday, still the 19th, as I'm editing this, and their store hours aren't until, Wednesday through Saturday. So I'm not actually going to get a chance to get to the shop until, at the earliest Wednesday. I work Monday through Thursday, so my day off is Friday. So I don't know if I'm going to, leave after, work on a Wednesday and Thursday and drive down there, or am I just going to wait till Friday? But he said, it won't go anywhere. Your name's on it, so I can kind of, make arrangements to do so. But the only reason I'm saying this is to not be like, well, hey, look at me, I won. It's more, this just goes back, not that he picked, my name, like, oh, you talked about us on social media, we're going to say that he won. I'm not saying that's what they do at all, but to go, okay, I'm going to drive 40 minutes to a record store that's, there's one that's 22 miles closer, half of the distance that I could go to for this, that I drove, a little over a half hour to go get to, and had such a great experience. And it's not because, I happened to be first in line. I could have been third in line, 33rd in line, 333rd in line, and not one. I still would have had the exact same experience that I did. The shop was clean. It was well put together. The staff was friendly, and all the people that I were talking to were absolutely great. And like I said in the earlier part of this video, going down to Lima, even, to Gromy's, even, 4.5, 5 hours after everything had died down, I found myself being in that store just going, I understand why I went to Tiffin instead of this. I started going, I don't think I want to come back to this shop to do this event. It's just, my experiences of the same day could not be more night and day of one another. And I think when you find a good shop and you find good store owners and you find good staff and the selection is good and there's those things outside of, record store day and winning prizes, that's not what it's about. But this just underlined that. And what really underlined it, if, just the experience of record store day, it wasn't like, hey, we called, just want to let you know you won, you come to the shop. I had a 10, 15 minute, 15-minute conversation with him that we were just talking about things, other things he wants to do next year, talking about the shop. And, it meant a lot that, I came down. He said, he said it really made him feel like he's doing the right thing. He said it's one thing when people live in the town and community, that's their shop. He goes, the fact that you chose to come to us for this event, he goes, that must mean we're doing something right. I said, it's your store. I said, it's I could say its location, could say when I'm working in the city that I'm in, that distance is cut in half. I'm back to the 20-minute drive, but when I drive home, it's the 40 minutes. So I wish I had it to show. I wish I knew more of what it is that I'm going to get, but it's just, if the experience wasn't good enough, this is just the tip and the icing on the cake that I never get to be first in line at things like this. And to enter a contest, I was like, I'm not going to win, and to find out, Sunday morning that I did, and had a wonderful conversation with the owner still. And he goes, oh, this is my personal phone number. So if you need anything, he goes, even though the shop's not open Monday and Tuesday, if you happen to be in and around the area, he goes, I'm usually close by. I can swing by the shop real quick. So that's just one of those things that you don't normally get stuff like that. Like, nope, we're closed on this day. I don't care if you won. We open on Wednesday. That's when you can get it. It's just one of those things to make me think, if I ordered a record that he was getting, that I said, well, hey, I'm in the area. I firmly believe if I had texted, say, hey, I'm in the Tiffin area, can I swing by the shop? Can I make an appointment? I think he would say yes. Now that also goes to say, don't abuse the privilege, but it just made the 2026 Record Store Day experience, like, if all that other stuff just wasn't enough, and just the people I was talking to was great, and then talking to the owner beforehand, and then inside the store, and then the 20-minute, let's call it 20-minute conversation while I'm standing in the narthex of the church talking about records and music. I was just like, this just underlined what a really good shop is. So I've got one more thing from Record Store Day that it's kind of cool. I'm not sure what it is. I looked at some things that I think it's the toolbox set, and if it's what I think it is, this thing could be really beefy. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to share that as the icing on the cake. So I will have it sometime in this next week, and I'll do an unboxing of it and see if I have any other little nuggets and just good conversations from 22 Market. So if you're in the Ohio area, you check out 22 Market. What a great shop, great staff, and the owner's just a really cool guy. So that's it. This is literally the last part of the video. Thank you if you made it to the end of this far. Thank you. So see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.